make file of E. And also important, clean target clears make file of E in order to make sure that we are not keeping options from a free made there with the wrong position settings. So if everyone has marveled enough at the make file, we can go on to usage.
It is very pretty actually, Wolfgang. Next slide.
Yeah. How do we use that?
No, that's previous.
Hang
on, we've got the previous slide. No, usage there, yeah.
Got it.
Usage.
Yes? Sorry, yeah. Okay.
You there?
Yeah?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. For single position, you just run make as before, or you can now say make real position equals 4 or equals default, and you get the same thing. For double position, you can now do make real position equals double, and then you compile with double position. And the make file.e that is general and the thing there shown here, there's not much there. It's setting the F flags, which for me is R minus R8. For other compilers would be different. And if it's an MPI run, we also have the one MPI count equals MPI count double. Well, one example would be interrupt fluctuates. For conslab, this line would just not be there. So once the inclusion of the files is set up, it doesn't take a lot in makefile.e to really get this working. Okay, and now over to Autotext, my motivation for doing it. So the next slide.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
The advantage of double precision Autotext is that we get 10 more decimals for free. So the autotests are the only thing us and madness. By madness, I mean us changing something in the code that people don't realize for a long time, and when they realize, they will want to kill whoever did that. What we are checking.
I'm glad you're on Skype, Wolfgang. I'm glad you're on Skype because I think you would kill me, right?
What we are checking are not all of the 7 degrees of freedom or numbers that are in a snapshot, but just of order 50 or 100 numbers that are supposed to represent many of these other degrees of freedom. So if we want to have checks that are stringent, that really is something, we should try to take the best of these 50 numbers. So if we use double precision, then for the autotest, then we immediately have much more information to check whether things deviate from what we had before. However, I don't think it's a good idea to use double precision by default if you're not running an autotest. And there are 2 reasons. First of all, we all and any new users typically start with one of the samples directories as starting point for a new production run. And so the default should just be what people will be using in production later, and the point in production, we rarely need double precision. And if we don't need it, we shouldn't use it, because it uses twice as much memory, and all the snapshots get twice as long. Okay, over to implementation.
Okay.
So, when the code is compiled, or when the code realizes it is running a double precision, we had that self-inspection before, because the diff.dat file contains that D or S, depending on whether it's single or single precision. Then it looks first for a file print.in.double. If it finds it, uses that for performance for printing. And if it doesn't find it, reverts to falls back to print.in.
Also.
Also tests checks for the existence of reference out double, and I think currently also print in double, although I'm not sure that it really makes such a lot of sense, but in most cases those will be there. And if it finds what it's looking for, it takes the output time series.dat and compares it to reference out double rather than to reference out. So if you add print in double and reference out double to an existing run directory, then if you run in single position, then you don't need to change any existing file. You can still run in single position as before, but Autotest will then really do everything in double position. Let's see. I got forgotten. If Autotest finds the file, these double files, then compile it for double position. I've currently set that up for 2 of the samples. That is Constlam as the one directory I always use for experiments, and interrupt run strings because I wanted one with NPI as well, and both work. Well, either both work or all 23 tests fail, but at least these do not fail more than the others. What is still, in order to get all the other tests up to double position, first of all, we need to fix print in double Constlam and interrupt flash strings. Currently, there are just the values I get from tomorrow. So we need to run this on other machines with other compilers, and we'll need to reduce the position somewhat in order to get consistent results. But we will still have much higher precision than we ever had before. And the same then needs to be applied for all Autotests, at least regularly. So the procedure is pretty straightforward. I guess everybody can come up with that. Print.in.double, where you increase the bit, either go very high or just increase the precision by 10 digits, which is roughly what we gain by going from single to double precision. Run the code on that machine, write series.dat to reference double, and then, as we still have to do with Slab and interrupt flash strings, do the same on another machine and thus performance in print.in. Okay, next one.
Yep.
Okay, first of all, the problem with Anders Autotest was most likely due to the fact that Autotest, or rather PencilTest, updates SRC and updates the run directory, but it does not update bin. And so setup was not updated. That is my guess, and it's not profitable. And setup SRC is needed, needs to make sure that the makefile.in is in the first place, because otherwise the very first round of running make will fail, and then the bootstrapping of a reasonable makefile.in never works.
So you didn't just do it on purpose, so we had 23 errors on the first day of the user meeting?
I'll not comment on that before talking to my lawyer. So I think that one's solved, and I think if somebody else has existing Autotests and does a complete update, CVS update, there should be no problems. I've tested that
Wolfgang, might it be a good idea? Sorry, might it be a good idea to use the PC CVS update, which does a selective update of the tree, in the pencil test code? Then if in future we change what things we wish to select, it'll carry on through elsewhere, right?
Okay, I'll have a look at that. I've never used that because I think, well, I don't like it if we put yet new PC commands out there that essentially do things that people can easily do with CVS itself. But maybe for this sort of thing, it might be useful in case we will at some point depend on new directories.
Indeed.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, cool.
So, just to double check again, you did some changes to the to the auto test so that Anders's auto test next time was actually working. Is that right? Or you said you didn't?
CVS is important.
Only if Anders updates pencil test.
That's what I did, and it ran last night and it worked. So that's why you didn't get an email, right?
Yeah, great.
Oh, okay. So the auto test does not. I see. So Anders didn't update with PC update, you mean?
Yes, the pencil test does a CVS update, but it only does CVS update of the source directory. So
not a
Wolfgang changes also had an impact on the bin directory,
yes,
but the automatic update that pencil test does didn't cover it.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes, Wolfgang.
It now does.
Yeah, the reason for using this the PC CVS up, I mean, you're right, having useless commands is silly, but of course the whole point is that this does actually encode some pencil code information, which is that it defines precisely what we consider to be necessary updates. So, for example, it does an update minus DP of the samples directory, and those sorts of things. So
is the PC CVS update command actually being used within Autotest now or not?
No, that's what I'm suggesting, maybe.
No.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So.
Okay.
Do we go to implementation now or what?
No, that's previous. That's last slide, yeah?
That last slide, and just this, and then we're done. So one problem that is difficult to work around, unless we are happy to do this just to have this solved just for some machine, is that Perl and thus Autotest uses double precision arithmetics for figuring out whether numbers are roughly the same or not. So if the numbers really are at the limit of double precision, then this means that we are not comparing precisely enough. That can lead to false positive if we really have something close to 15 or 16 decimals in the numbers that we train on Firetrack.in. So every now and then, or at least while setting up these formats, it makes sense to just compare just to think for the variance.
So we lost that, Wolfgang.
Say again.
While we are trying to set up the bit.bit.double for the existing samples directories, it's helpful to not completely rely on Autotest being able to spot differences, but to just do a manual dip. And you can use a graphical variant because that sometimes tells you where exactly the difference is, what characters are different.
Wolfgang, does it tell you, the current code, does it only report OK if there are minor differences? Or does it say there are minor differences and continue happily? Does it do the strict test also?
If the last bit differs by 1, then it accepts this quietly, because that can be due to rounding and it can originate in an arbitrarily small difference. And if the last bit differs more than one, or other digits differ, but that's really figured out arithmetically, not by looking at the string, then it fails.
So would it not be better to have a halfway house?
Let me just finish that.
Sorry.
What it now also does, and some false positives because of this position limitation. If it first does the string comparison, if that succeeds, it doesn't even start to do the arithmetic stuff. But that's just eliminating some of the problem, not all.
Right, but there's no information to the user to say that the strict test failed, but the weak test passed.
No.
Perhaps just changing the message to almost okay, or I don't know, something, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Why not, right?
Okay-ish.
Yes.
I'm not sure the user normally wants that information. I mean, if the idea is...
But why don't you let the user decide that?
I mean, for example, if I know that I always had 20 tests which gave okay, and I always have 3 tests which gave okay-ish, then I would know, okay, that's what it is. But then all of a sudden, from one day to the next, I see that now 26, now that 6 are only okay-ish, and the rest, the remaining 17 are okay. Then I would know that's really funny, so I have some extra information. And why not, right?
But you're now talking about the difference of 1 in the last digit that we found to be reliable. That's after the, I don't know, 8 digits that we don't have to be reliable. That's a very minor piece of information, and I don't see many cases where that helps you.
But it won't do any harm. It does no harm to have the extra information.
I think it's confusing if you run AutoTest and then you first have to look in the manual what does okay-ish.
It's kind of clear, right?
It's kind of clear, yeah.
Okay, I'll add that as an extra option.
But it must be the default, otherwise you don't see it, right?
You could put it under frequently asked questions. What does okay mean? But the answer is probably just a one-liner. Yeah, almost okay.
Okay, you'll get an option for that, but it won't be the default, I think. If that's the case.
But it's so powerful because on any given, on any individual machine, the results should always be absolutely identical to the nth binary digit, right?
To before, right? Not
always the same. Yeah,
not compared to another machine, but to the same machine.
So any differences that exist, even in the final digit, will always be the same digits on a given machine. So a user really gets a lot of information from that, as Axel points out.
Provided you remember where you had the okay and where you had the okay-ish before.
But I, for example, always have a page with the previous test result. You know that? If you look on the pencil code test pages, then for my test, I have 2.
But you won't compare the 2 each time you get results. I mean,
yeah, but sure, yeah.
Extra information, but I think I strongly doubt, but you can prove the opposite. I strongly doubt that you will catch a single failure that only manifests itself in that last digit, but we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, and the last point is, currently, you should run make clean all, or maybe make clean will do, I'm not sure. Frequently, when you play with compiling for double precision, because if you compile with double precision, then you do a CVS update, and then you just run make. Make will happily compile the new files for single precision, and then the linking doesn't work, or probably it's going to be only the runtime that doesn't work. I haven't thought about how to
All right, thank you. Questions, please. Any question? No?
No. I have another one, Wolfgang.
Yeah.
It was raised in yesterday's meeting. It would be very nice to have this same idea of running double precision on some machines with the pencil test, which is clearly something that absolutely must be run, but it's certainly clear it's not useful to run it on every individual user's computer when they're developing, for example. How do you how do you think we could get the information that the pencil test is required from Autotest through to the pencil code?
Sorry, what's the pencil test?
I don't think I understand the scenario you're talking about.
So you know that do you know that in the samples there's this there's an init parameter called L pencil test or L pencil check, as we found it. And it's set to true in the samples. It performs it does a reality check on the pencil case, right?
The pencil consistency check.
That's the one, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I see what you're talking about.
The difficulty here is, of course, that is at the minute is a Boolean input parameter.
Yes.
And ideally, I mean, while it could always stay like that, we could do with some mechanism by which we can tell Autotest to, or perhaps rather pencil test to inflict that.
I mean, we could have, let's see, we could have a file that can switch on, that if it exists, switches on the consistency check.
Like works with color at the moment, right?
Yeah. And then the Autotest just would need to remove that file once it's done with that directory.
Yeah, if it existed in the first place. Yeah. That's what I thought you'd say. Good. Anybody else? Any questions over there?
I have a question. A couple of compilers that maintain position switches. Are they somehow helpful?
Can you hear Toby okay?
Almost not.
Almost not. You'll have to come around. It's a directional microphone. I don't think even from across the table it will.
I mean, various compilers at least maintain position switches, like the intercompiler, and I was wondering whether that might be helpful for the Autotest, or whether that's is not helpful at all if we use double precision anyway.
Is that gives you 8 decimals instead of 6 or something?
It turns off.
Yeah, I think it turns off optimizations that could potentially lower the numerical accuracy.
Okay.
But I mean, of course, we could also perhaps say that we don't run the Autotest with any optimizations at all. That would probably be
Very
best
slow.
anyway.
But that will slow the Autotest down terribly. I mean,
But this could be on the nightly.
we gave a bit on compilation, but some of the Autotests really run for several minutes, and if it's 20 minutes instead of 5 for a few of them, it could be 1 or 2 hours more easily.
Yeah.
Would it matter on Kolmogorov at 3 in the morning, or?
Or in the morning. Probably not. I mean,
Unless you're awake, of course.
Kolmogorov is using all sorts of runtime diagnostics anyway, so it already runs both down version. I'm not sure if we want the Autotest to be consistent with one machine where we don't have such an option, then basically there's no point in using it. Currently we're running the Autotest mostly on with either the Intel or the compiler. So currently we couldn't find it. But I would rather use it on top of going to double precision. So that just gives us a few more, 1 or 2 more digits maybe. Let's see.
Yeah.
Cool.
But also, I mean, the speed of the Autotest is of course crucial if you use it for testing whether your changes affect anything.
What was that, the speed up?
I mean, the speed of the auto test is probably not so crucial if you have a nightly auto test running on some supercomputer, but if you use it for testing your patches or changes to the code, then it's
so such a thing would need to be switchable, of course.
right.
One possibility one possibility would be to, on all machines, have the possibility in the makefile of having optimized and unoptimized flags, so that users themselves could say auto test unoptimized or auto test, so.
Right.
Because many compilers, the Intel compiler, for example, Wolfgang, can give dramatically different results with -03 to that which it gives with 02, depending on the build.
And the compilation time is faster. That's another advantage.
Yeah, but who cares how long it...
No, but I mean, okay.
Yeah.
You're still online, Wolfgang, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question which is related to this, or a suggestion perhaps. How about having 3 different levels of files that are to be, or tests that are to be included in the auto test? In the first level, we could have, for example, first or the third one. Maybe first should be the highest level, the highest standard. In that case, we can include a large number of tests, which could be maybe on the order of 50. In the second level, we could have the current 23 tests, and on the third level, we have maybe only 3 tests. The advantage, the advantage of a level 3 is that if you have done certain changes to the code, and you're not sure whether, I mean, you want to make sure that at least the basic things work okay, that users will not be affected, that there's a high probability that it will go through. And you want to know the answer within less than half an hour, certainly, or maybe 10 minutes or something. Then you want to run just 3 tests.
So for level 3, basically, the question is, what would be the minimum set of auto tests that covers all physics and non-physics and physics or whatever?
Yes.
On a technical model.
Yes, or at least the core physics. So, for example, one might change something in the interstellar code and then run the auto test, the 3 core auto tests and the interstellar auto test.
Exactly, yes. I mean, the interstellar will always work, of course, because that's what you're testing.
But if we find a very small set of runs that really cover all, then that would be even better because you don't have to think about it then.
Yes, and then the reason for having a level 1 would be the following. I mean, we have a few tests which are in samples already, which are not currently part of the auto test. And one reason...
Quite a number of them, actually.
There's quite a number of them, and therefore I was giving a number of 50. The reason we have those things is simply because some users have developed certain applications that require certain input parameters and this and this and this. And like yesterday, for example, Boris included a new test. It's under sample, but it's not under auto test. Okay, and likewise, and there are a few others, of course. And there's no guarantee that this will not all of a sudden break, or the results will all of a sudden no longer be valid. It can actually happen, and all of a sudden you realize that the last time it was working was half a year ago or something. And it's quite a...
So we would want something like a weekly or monthly...
Yes, yeah. Yes, yeah.
Test.
So we run it every Friday night or something, or Saturday night. Then Toby's dancing.
I guess a complete auto test could just look for all run directories in some under samples that have reference.out, and so we wouldn't have to explicitly add stuff there. We would just add the run directory and it would be included in the next one.
Yeah, but I think it would be...
That's a brilliant idea, yes. That would, yeah. And so anybody could add something to the global test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the global tests will fail most of the time because people don't have the resources to try on another machine and so on and so forth. But we would get this email once a month and we would then make sure that the ones that fail are the ones we expect to fail and so on.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
Perhaps we put a responsible user, a file called responsible user or something in each run directory, which contains the email address of the user that the system must then nag.
Maintainer or whatever.
Yeah, maintainer, and just automatically email the maintainer file. Crazy? Yeah, crazy.
Maybe not with it, but I mean having the maintainer information in the run directory makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure we want to. I mean,
We could use it automatically. We don't have to. Yeah.
automatically.
Yes.
But if somebody sees a test and finds that there is no readme file on the readme, doesn't tell anything, or it looks like exactly what he or she wants to do, but then something goes wrong, I think it's great to have maintainer information there, even if it was sometimes be outdated.
There's one more variation to order test being discussed as well, which is the possibility to, again, maybe a monthly test, have some long runs which also check their timing information, because it will be interesting to know month on month if the average timing on a given system has varied by more than 10% or something, right?
But that's the difficulty, of course, because we run always interactively, so we can never be sure that we get the correct timing.
Well, the pencil test that runs at 3 a.m. in the morning on known machines.
No, but this is on the front end. So all of a sudden somebody else can run something on the front end.
But it doesn't. No, but
And you can do a top command simultaneously, of course, to know.
yeah, but if a result is crazy, you have the opportunity to check. But if you don't have a result, you don't know anything.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. But
I mean, would it maybe be enough to just with each pencil test also print the result of time?
I think that would be very useful, certainly.
yes,
But perhaps, I mean, time output is rather unfriendly, and of course compile time can vary more dramatically than the runtime.
no, but we have the run. No.
Just the runtime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the code itself, of course, outputs the runtime at the end of the run. Now we can put it into a machine-readable form.
So they must do this anyway, right? Yeah.
So we would write it into a file, for example, with runtime.out or something, or run.dat, maybe in the data/runtime.dat, and then the report of the auto test can actually report this result. What do you think of this, Wolfgang?
You mean for each run directory there is a file with the runtime, and all the tests come from there?
Yes, yeah. Let the pencil code report its runtime, for example.
Sounds good.
And of course, it was brought up earlier that we would forget whether it has actually changed. I mean, nobody would remember how it was in 2002, for example. So maybe we should have...
There needs to be a reference.
Yes, so we should. What we could do, of course, is have a minimal output from the pencil code. I mean, at the moment, the output from the auto test can be very long if there is a failure. So if something fails, then all of a sudden the auto test result can be 20,000 lines long or something. So we want to have it such that it simply just says failed at runtime, and it also said, for example, the runtime if it didn't fail, for example, right? And so we would have an output from an auto test which is on the order of 100 lines long. And then we can always check this in automatically. So then the result of the auto test is being checked in, and any user can later check, okay, and so the auto test in 2001 was such a thing that it has, for example, only 2 tests, and it had a runtime of a microsecond or something, and now on the same machine, whatever.
But I think the runtime will change from test to on test, so you would have to check in something new each time to run an auto test, or you don't. But collectively, something a bit like recording my voice as information.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, but the noise, of course, comes about because it's interactive, right? That may bring me to another option. I mean, I still think it's useful because Toby said
there will always be some fluctuations that
Yes.
we cannot
Yes.
exclude.
Yeah. So the fluctuations may be quite bad, of course.
One of them will be.
Yes. So the
Well, we won't know
fluctuations.
this till we try it. That's the point.
Yeah. But Tony said already, we wouldn't know until we actually have at least some information about anything, right? And maybe there's a consistent trend anyway. But in order to get rid of this noise, what about actually making the auto test like a batch thing, so that we can actually submit it, rather than running it interactively on the front end? If you submit it, we get the entire processor.
True.
And the difficulty with this is, I think on Horseshoe, for example, except that we can't run on Horseshoe anymore, but on at least on Horseshoe, I know that I think you cannot run MPI with 8 processors on one processor, or am I wrong? Can you do that? Or maybe it's just some problem with our getConfig file.
Must be, yes.
Yeah.
So both Toby and Tony are saying maybe it should work that even in a batch job, if you get one processor, we should be able to share the jobs of 8 processes.
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah. But the getconf file, I think, of course, is simply just saying Lamboot,
Right.
and
Lamboot, PBS node file, and
maybe that's something to investigate. But in any case, it would be good if we can actually submit the auto test to the queue. And that's not.
so they say your processor. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Sounds good, and I mean, even if it doesn't work for 1 or 2 machines initially, it will still work.
It would be better, exactly. It would be better than nothing.
It won't make the fluctuations in the runtime if you don't wait.
But by the way, I'm suggesting that in each directory there would of course be something like a reference.time.kolmogorov file or some such.
Yes.
So that at least on Kolmogorov, if a reference file for this host exists, then maybe you could do a test that it's within some reasonable bounds or something. Otherwise, at least you just show it.
But I mean that adds lots of files we are doing auto tests on different machines and for all the run directories.
Yeah, but we don't have to do the timing test on every one. We only have to do it once a month on one.
Sorry?
With the point is that I'm not suggesting that we tell every single person who ever runs a pencil test to do the timing test. But if 3 or 4 people did it, it would be more than enough statistics to at least have the information. But at the minute we know nothing.
Well, I mean, we have these nice charts in the manual. We know something about some machines or some runs. But
No, exactly. We know what it ran like some time ago, but we don't know how it got there. We don't know what it's like now.
But maybe if the worry is that something is introduced in the code that really slows it down significantly, maybe it would be enough to just record the previous value of the runtime for that directory and the current one, and if they differ by more than 15%, the auto test warns you about that. This will be a one-time thing. If you ignore the first warning, the next time the old value will be the slower value.
But of course that allows it to drift over time.
Mm-hmm.
It could drift by 2% every time.
Yeah.
It could drift by 2% every time.
But like a small systematic error that somehow everybody makes when checking stuff in. It's much more
No,
like
over the course of a year, 4 bugs get checked in, each of which introduces a 5% slowdown. And it's never ever seen. Whereas if you just put one hard value and do the auto test, it's not going to do any harm. There's no reason the auto test has to fail, but it would be nice. Of course, we're talking about hypotheticals. If we do it, then we see what happens. No?
I agree. I mean, that's the sort of the simplest solution anyway. Why making it more complicated? And we could check in such a file regularly, and we can see later what we can do with this. We can delete it, for example, if you don't like it, or if it becomes too big in the repository.
One number.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
If we really do that, should that be the hidden file because it just distracts people?
What? Ah,
Should it start with the doc?
you mean the timing result?
Why are you embarrassed about how long the code runs on Kolmogorov?
2006.Kolmogorov.
I don't think it needs to be hidden. I think the sample directories are somehow, we're honest and we admit what reference.out is. If we have some reference timing to some machines, people may even find it interesting to see where their machine sits in between some of the machines that we all test on.
I'm just a bit worried about new users being exposed to many, many files that they need to find their way through, and most of them actually are not really relevant to them. But you are right, it is information. If the header of the file also says a bit about the hardware or whatever, then people can directly compare to what they get.
I mean, the name of this additional file should be very descriptive, right?
Well, perhaps, Wolfgang, you could just put, do you know the file in the source directory called .buildinfo? Have you noticed this exists? Perhaps you would like to check that in with it. Maybe you want to build the pencil code in a directory and then look at source/.buildinfo and .buildtime. Because that, I mean, if you want some informative information, maybe that would be useful to users, I don't know. But still, it's even more than just putting some time there, which would be a good start.
But you're not suggesting to put the time into that build info because that's really coming with the data, right?
Yeah, the build info, yes, the build info is the wrong place for the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But there could be a .run info, of course. Possible.
Well, then
That's a different issue. Yes, indeed. The only reason it's .buildinfo was to stop you shouting at me for creating it.
Sorry, what was that?
I said the only reason for calling it .buildinfo was to stop you shouting at me for creating it.
Worked so far, right?
Very well, yes.
Okay, let's see. There was one thing I wanted to discuss. No, can't do that anymore. So, what are the plans for the glorious future that have been highlighted in all these talks?
I think
Are there any
key issues so far, people. I think nested grids has become a topic, a hot topic. Possibly the idea of coming up with some nice explicit way of handling global variables. Other things, guys, help me. There seems to be some agreement that the shock, at least the shock capturing and possibly the viscosity in general in the pencil code has some interesting effects which not everybody understands, but it's not got further than that, I don't think. Any more points?
And we also highlighted that the pencil code did beautifully among the other codes too, right?
Vlad gave a talk here about this comparison of planetary, it's accretion, right? In a disk.
Planet disk
interaction. They did an order test of, have you seen this paper, Wolfgang? No, it's worth a look. He compared it to...
It's in the manual. It's in the pencil code manual, actually.
Yeah. It compared to 17 other codes. And the pencil code actually does really rather well.
Except it's slow.
Except it's slow. Perhaps, maybe.
what were some of the other codes?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, that broke up. It was, yes, it's 2D.
2D, yes.
3D global.
So it's doing the accretion disk, right? Planet formation.
So, there's one there.
You want to get started with this?
Yeah, see you later, guys.
What did you ask? Welcome?
So,
Welcome.
sorry, we missed all of that. They were talking here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you say again?
It wasn't so important. Philip just trying to drink milk, but forgot to remove his before. And that's okay.
And can you guess what we are drinking here?
Well, probably beer.
Listen one more time. Here, just a second. Got it? You didn't hear it?
It's beer out of these old bottles.
I see. So we have another wine. Let me just check. This is actually French wine here.
Ah, okay.
But the French wine, it wasn't warm.
French wine?
But maybe we better drink.
The French wine wasn't warm. Oh no.
But it's better. I think the French wine.
It was warm, you mean? Oh.
No. You want to try it?
Cold.
Don't you have an Italian wine?
I mean, before this, I give at least a French wine here. This is
Okay.
French wine.
Cabernet?
And then I put. Who wants warm French wine? And I put it in the meantime in the fridge. Who wants warm one?
Does your version of Heinz support the beverage protocol?
I don't know. Unfortunately, not yet. I don't know which.
It's like, what?
I mean, it doesn't even have a fridge, of course, Skype. So I need to put it into the fridge now.
Let's do this.
Can I check the VNC and all that?
It's okay.
Oh, and Wolfgang, it looks like we have VNC working now.
Let's see.
Yeah, you can probably log into that machine now. Maybe.
What is HMC?
VNC.
And
okay.
display is 1.
But it's on display 1 of that same machine. I don't know if you want to try it just to see if it works. But
I used to do VNC from NW43 in Auditor, and apparently that doesn't work anymore.
really, you have to tunnel it now, right?
To get some access to some pages that how you use it.
Oh, right. Oh, well, why don't you just forward your HTTP connection via, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was simple.
Yeah, it's easy, that's true.
Yeah.
Although then you have to save the file and copy it somewhere, of course.
Can I have some?
What's your IP then? 172? Sorry, yes, I'm trying to send it around. Oh, it's just not coming. Everybody got wine?
I still get, if I try that on one, well, on I still get connected to the host.
Connection hold tonight.
Message because normally, wait a second. If I do,
This one.
like that, here,
One.
Yes, 1.
it can solve.
Yeah. Oh. Have I got that wrong? It's 172 24568.
Yeah. No move to host doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I get no. Well, I'm sat next to the machine, and I also get no root to host.
Yeah, but you have to really to